So this past weekend we hosted a pop-up theology session on faith and food, and Jeremy Clyde, a local librarian, thinker, theologian, and farmer, led the discussion, and it was so good. If you happen to miss out, make sure you head over to our YouTube channel where you can find a recording of the whole thing. One of the things that Jeremy said on Saturday afternoon sort of struck a chord with me, because he was talking about how seeds do their work, that you can toss a bunch of them into the ground, and if there's enough water and enough light there, basically you're going to get something that comes out of the ground. And what struck me is how that idea sort of works really well with this parable that we were looking at this past Sunday, the story of the mustard seed, which you'll remember Jesus told as part of his response to some people who may have had a question of what the kingdom of God is like. And so to explain it to them, he tells them this story about a person just chucking a mustard seed into the patch of dirt beside their house. And one of the things we talked about is how, in lots of ways, the kingdom of God and the kingdom of grace that we've been talking about these last few weeks, it works similarly to how seeds work. And what I mean by that is that if you think about your own spiritual life and your spiritual rhythms, grace has a way of working whether we are attending to our interior life or not. I mean, if you think about it, there are times in our lives when we stay in tune with ourselves, we pay attention to rhythms of reading, prayer, structure, and habits of being. And then there's times when we don't really pay attention to that stuff at all. Maybe we fall off the wagon a bit. And I think, at least in part, some of what Jesus was saying is that our spiritual life in the kingdom of grace, it's a lot like seeds, that they work and grow in our lives when we attend to them, when we cultivate them, when we pay careful attention to them. But then there's seasons in our lives when we can't, which is this really compelling idea, especially as we head towards Easter. And with Holy Week right around the corner and us heading into the darkness of Good Friday and holding on for Resurrection morning, I hope that you're able to reflect on maybe some of the last few weeks and all that Lent has brought to you. And maybe you can see that, in fact, grace has been growing there all along.